It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Happy Mother's Day weekend. Yes, we made it to another weekend. Not just any weekend. It is a Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day. It's the Geno Jones Show. I guess you kind of figured that out. You see with the sign and the logo behind me, right? So I'm live on YouTube, live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 Central Time, 3:30 on the West Coast. Like, share, and subscribe. Please, everybody you know, even folks you don't like. I don't care. I don't give a damn. Everybody. I got something for everybody. You can love it or love to hate it, but it's all good as long as you're watching, liking, or unlike, but share. Like, share, but I prefer like, share, and, or I should say like, subscribe, and share to the Geno Jones Show and the Geno Jones Network right here live on my YouTube channel. I got a very special guest, and she is going to help me give my Mother's Day gift to you. Because I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, what kind of gift could I give to all the mothers and the grandmothers and the mothers to be? I said, what about the gift of self-care, or bring someone on the show who's got the receipts, has got the credentials and the resume to talk to the women and to speak especially to our sisters of color, Black women, Native American, Hispanic brothers and sisters, but specifically to my Black women out there, mothers and grandmothers and aunts and uncles and mothers to be. Somebody that understands the culture, that walks in that skin and understands as they call it, the intersectionality of racism and misogyny and sexism and the microaggressions, as they call it, the little subtle things that people say and do and just kind of, dismiss you in a very dismissive way, and they don't even realize they're doing it. Well, I think a lot of times they do realize they don't really give a damn. So anyway, my guest, she's going to come on, and she's got some tips for you. Consider it like a vitamin, like a healthy vitamin. We're going to talk about all about self-care, because you cannot take care of anybody else until you take care of yourself. Black women historically have been like the most amazing caregivers. Take care of everybody, other people's kids, their kids. And I could go on and on and on, but we'll get into it. All right. But first, let me just shout out all the mothers and grandmothers. Like I said, you're always taking care of somebody else. Your aging parents, your grandparents, you're taking care of your kids, your sister's kids, your grandkids, your neighbor's kids, kids, orphan kids, foster home kids, you name it. And in this pandemic, this last 15 months of COVID-19, the coronavirus, you became a teacher. You're like a manager. You're doing a Zoom meeting on one computer, and you got the kids trying to do Zoom class. So you're a teacher and a supervisor, all in one. And wait a minute, hold on. Let's not. You're probably a therapist for your girlfriend or sorority sister, and then let's talk about, ladies. I have to go there. I'm a guy, but I gotta go there. All right, for your man and for your husband. That's a whole nother problem, right? We want you. You got to be a spouse, a stripper, a cook, a counselor, an accountant, a spiritual advisor, housekeeper. In some cases, you got to be a parent to a grown-ass man. You got 3 kids, and you got your man, your husband. Then you got 4 kids in some cases. So I get it. So the caretaker, who is going to take care of the caretaker? Well, I got an answer for you. I'm going to bring on camera now. My guest is a licensed family and marriage therapist and an addiction counselor. She is the board chair of the board of directors for People Against Rape, PAR. She counseled the survivors and the community of the Mother Emanuel Church. Of course, we know about 4 or 5 years back, just that horrible, right here in Charleston, South Carolina, the tragedy, horrible massacre of those nine beautiful souls inside of Mother Emanuel Church. So she counseled many of the survivors and just the entire community in general. And she's currently working with the medical unit. It was African DNA. Was it African ancestry? The one that doesn't keep your DNA. Anyway, to the show. Let me welcome Tenelle Jones. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Good. Hi, I'm well. Good evening.
Boy, you got the setup. I love it. You got your little green screen wall, but I like, and it's matching. See, that's what I love about Black women. It's always the style is there. So the wall is matching your dress there. Just hey, I just.
Good.
So okay, listen. So
Yes.
it's Mother's Day weekend, and I want us to laugh and have some fun. And before we end the conversation, I want you to talk a little bit, about your mom. Maybe share some funny stories about your mom and your grandma. But you heard the monologue, and
Yes.
there's truth in every joke. And yes, a part of the monologue was humorous, was funny, but the core of it was serious. And I meant what I said. That especially historically here in America, Black women have always been caregivers. You took from slavery, from being enslaved and taking care of whoever, enslaved you. You took care of their children and your children if they weren't sold and separated and sent off. And you've taken care of not just your children, grandchildren, your sister's kids, your brother's kids, nieces, nephews, maybe a neighbor's kid that's having issues. Got to be a therapist, and like you said, if you got a husband, a spouse, a boyfriend, then that's a whole nother. Now, and then we haven't even gotten outside the house. Everything you have to deal with at work, as I said, the intersectionality of, so you got sexism, and then on top of it, you got the misogyny, you got racism, sexism, misogyny, microaggressions, all of that. And somehow you got to try to keep your sanity and still be the best version of yourself. So one thing that for me personally, now I know you've got data, you're the professional, you're the trained person that knows the data and the science behind it, but just anecdotal evidence, just in my own family, especially with my grandmother, is she was the best example, unfortunately, because it didn't work out for her. Her whole life, Tenelle, she dedicated to being there for everybody else, neighbors, family, friends, strangers, literally strangers that she took in off the street and stayed with us for 2 years, rent-free, didn't take one penny for rent, for food, for utilities, just because it was this one family that was down on their luck, and this woman worked with my mother. And it was in a very abusive relationship, and this man kicked her, 3 boys. I'll never forget her name, Trilby Childress. Kicked them out on the street, and they stayed with us. Now, we didn't have a big house. We lived on the 2nd floor of a 2-flat apartment. I guess in New York, they call them brownstones. In Chicago, just 2-flat apartments. So we had 3 bedrooms. My mother and my grandmother were in 1 bedroom. My grandfather and I had the middle bedroom. My 2 sisters had the back bedroom. So you say, wait a minute, you had 4 new people came in the house, where did they sleep? So we had a they call like a let-out couch, a couch that you could let out into a bed. And they slept on the couch for 2 years. My grandmother would not take 1 penny. As a matter of fact, my grandmother didn't curse, but she almost cussed my grandfather out because I guess one day he was like, wait a minute, I can't keep doing this financially. And she's like, oh, Conway, stop complaining. You know that girl got kicked out on the street with those children? That's the kind of woman my grandmother was. So I tell that story, just an example. I know there are probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands over the course of our history here in America, millions of stories like that. So I brought you on the show, and I want you to speak, and being a Black woman yourself, like this obvious, I want you to give the mothers and grandmothers that's watching just some tips about self-care, Because I always say, Tenelle, that you can't care for anybody else until you take care of yourself. And we as a people, especially the last year with this pandemic, is just, I think the whole planet could use like one big group therapy session between COVID and what we've seen with the murder of unarmed black men, women, and children from Breonna Taylor to Ahmaud Arbery, and of course George Floyd, and so many more. Give the mothers out there some tips, some self-care tips and advice.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me and happy Mother's Day to everyone. So I talk about self-care differently. Most people think about self-care as going to get your nails done and your hair done, and those indulgent activities really can be helpful. So my method, though, when I talk about and train how to take care of yourself, is called AHA, the AHA method. So the first letter A is really about that awareness. So as a mom, as a grandmother, just knowing what you feel, what you think, what's happening with your body at all times. That's the most important thing, because if you know what's happening, then you'll know what you need to do. Like how you know if as your baby's sick, right? You say, oh, my baby's sick, I know, because you have that awareness. So this is just having that awareness for yourself and doing the same thing. So where you would give your baby the ginger ale back in the day, you get sick, you get ginger ale and go you put it to bed, maybe slap some Vicks on your chest or something. So you needing, you would need to do that for yourself. So that awareness of how are you breathing, like we don't talk enough about just learning how to just breathe and relax and calm your body, because you're always going, going, going. But if you just slow your breathing down to the 4 counts of inhaling and then 4 counts of exhaling, if you do that throughout the day, you will notice a very significant difference in just how you carry your body, right? Because you're constantly moving, you're constantly doing things probably.
So
The
Tenelle,
second, yes.
I apologize, but this
No,
is
yeah, sure.
important. Let me jump in here. Could you give us an example of what that looks like? Because
Yeah.
some people hear it, but they're like, okay, well, what does she mean, and what does that exactly look like? Because that's it sounds so important, and I've heard that before, to where, just our breathing is so important, and it's connected to, I guess, our stress level. You can speak to that, but what does that, because listen, I'm the king of anxiety, probably. Sometimes, just,
Yes.
we all are. So how do we slow ourselves down, and what does that look like? What does that moment that look like when the alarm bells goes off and you feel the tension and anxiety build up in your body? Give us if you don't mind, give us an example of what that would look like.
Yeah, so the moment you notice a shift in your body, your heart's racing, maybe you're tense, even if you don't notice it right away, but when you notice it, you just pause and you just make sure your feet are both on the ground and you just breathe in. So I'll count to four. When I count to four, you're going to slowly inhale. Typically, you can hold it for 2 seconds and then slowly exhale. So on my count, 1, 2, 3, inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, and exhale. Very good. And we're going to do this
Wow.
again
Okay.
one more time. And so you're going to, and this time you're going to inhale. I'm going to add some stuff. So you're going to inhale, inhale positivity, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold. And exhale tension, and just let your body relax all the way down to your toes. And you can even wiggle your toes, because that just lets you know that you're present. Sometimes when you're stressed, you're thinking about things that you didn't do well in the past, or you're worried about things you have to do tomorrow. But if you ground yourself and just notice that this is where you are, today is where you are, you do that by looking around, seeing what you can see. That in itself is a form of self-care. So that being present, that mindfulness. So that's what I would encourage you to do, especially this weekend. Just stop and breathe. And if you don't always remember, we have these wonderful things called cell phones and watches. You can set an alarm to go off. So you get in the practice of just breathing at the top of each hour, every hour of the day. So that's something that you could do. That's the first part of my aha, like
Okay.
just being present with your breath.
Well, that first, I
Yeah.
gotta confess, that first, that
The
I
aha.
literally, and I'm not being funny, and I'm not saying it, but I could feel it actually. And I was going to, should you close your eyes, or is it okay to open your eyes, or just if you're
Yeah.
at work, do you want to go to the bathroom, lock the door, get in the stall for a second, and just have that? I guess Martin Lawrence called it that woo-saw moment
Yeah.
back in the day.
No, actually, you want to be able to do breathing. Changing your breathing can be done at any time of day. So you want to do it as often as you can, no matter where you are. You can close your eyes, but let's say you're having a bunch of racing thoughts and you feel like you're in the future or you're worried about keeping your eyes open might be helpful because you can see what's around you. So you might say, let me count the number of things that I see that start with the letter T. Or let me notice how many things are in my space that are red. And then as you're doing that and you're breathing, you can't, if you're doing that, you can't think about tomorrow. All you're doing is focusing on the day. So
Yeah,
that gives your brain, your mind a little bit of rest so you can focus on being present now. So that's something that I would encourage you to do.
that's great. So what would be
Yeah.
that the next part?
So the next part, the aha, is the H of harmony. So we talk about balance, balance, balance. I don't like balance. I say balance is BS because everything can't equal the same amount of time and energy. Um, So if you think about music, Gino, you're a radio person, so you know music has different types of sounds and notes, and sometimes it's good to have this instrument playing, and sometimes it's good to have this one playing. So you have to know in your life, right? When is it good to do certain things, and when is it good to do other things,
Good,
without
different.
trying to,
Uh, I'm
yeah.
sorry. I just wanted to
No,
just
go ahead.
add to what you were saying because I think it's important musically, and I think people will be able to relate to this. Just to reinforce the point you're making, I was going to say in music, tempo is important.
Hmm. Yes,
Mid tempo could be slow, could
should
be
be
mid
slow.
tempo, could be some high energy.
Hmm. Yeah, so pay attention to the things that you're already doing, moms and grandmoms, that are giving you, I call it life energy, things that give you energy, and those things that you do every day that just kind of are soul draining, like they just life draining. And you want to,
Those
and
people.
so, yeah, being around certain people, yes. So if you have, again, going back to that awareness, what are things that you have in your day, your routine that really gives you life, and you will make sure you're doing those, and the things that don't give you life, but they're kind of draining you a little bit, if you connect it to something that matters, like understanding the value of doing these things, right? You might not want to have to, like, I don't like to do laundry, but if you connect it to, well, it's going to make me look good, or I have clothes, whatever it is, just connect it to something, then it will make it easier. I also want to say it's never really about quantity, it's about quality. So if
Okay.
you're doing something, and as long as you're giving it your attention, so even if you only have 10 minutes with your children, most kids are going to just pay attention to the time and how you're not pay attention to time, they're going to pay attention to how well you're paying attention to them,
Yes.
instead of, oh, you only spent 10 minutes with me. If you're there, if you're present, you're not on your phone, you're engaged, you're talking to them while they're in your space, they will remember that, versus you're trying to manage an email, work email, and you're trying to do this, try to cook while also having to talk to them. Just make space, just make some time. So quality over quantity, that's what harmony is.
So now you said four parts. So those are two. Are there two more?
Those are two.
Okay.
Yeah. So the second A, which is acceptance, right? Oh, wow, we have a lot to accept in this world.
Yes.
As moms, you might have made some, difficult decisions that you feel like you're just constantly beating yourself up as a parent.
Yeah.
So it's time to just kind of acknowledge that these things have happened. It's okay. Um, Change the way you communicate with yourself. So any negative beliefs you have about the things you've done, challenge it, right? So just, kind of write the opposite, or think about, how is it, like, is it supported? So if you say, I'm not good enough, I've never been a good enough parent.
Okay.
Well, where's the evidence in that? Like, so is that, and why is thinking that helpful to you anyway? So learning how to get out of that, but then also accepting the things that you cannot change. You probably, my mom is parenting older kids, so learning how to accept that she has adult kids and they're going to make their own decisions, even though she probably doesn't want, she wants to do it this way, this way. So that's something that I would encourage. So that's the second A. The third A is what I call committed action. This is learning to do what matters most and live according to your values. And if you choose to do that and you respond to life based off of the person you want to be in every situation, you will feel a different level of peace that you probably don't feel. Even if you are upset or you're anxious, you're still going to have that underbelly of peace because you're responding to life, you're responding to people in a way that is meaningful to you, in a way that you want to be, in a way that you're following your values. So all of this takes practice, but I tell people, even moms, you are your brand. So have a mission statement for yourself. What kind of mom do you want to be? So, like we go to these companies, right? They have mission statements, vision statements, and values. Write your mission statement out for yourself and live that mission statement every day. And that in itself will just bring a whole layer of the way you care for yourself. So then when you start to do those other things like exercise or get your hair done or take long baths, those will be easier to do because you're already doing the internal work. So my self-care is start inside and it'll work itself outside.
So that last I think was so important. Repeat that again because I really want people to get this because I think this is such great advice and just tools that you're giving moms to basically be the best version of themselves and engage in that self care that's so
Yeah.
important. So what was that last one again? Repeat that
So the
again.
last one is called committed action. That is knowing what you value. So if you don't know, I want you to figure out what are your top 5 values.
There you go.
And then creating a mission statement. Like you go to places, every place, every company organization has a mission statement of how they want to run, and then a vision statement. So write your own mission statement. No matter what you've done in your life, maybe you feel like you've made some mistakes, start today. Sometimes we believe we can't start something until we get over something. No, you can always start today, no matter what you have going on. So write that mission statement, write that vision statement, and then each day you start your day out and you can say, you know what, how do I want to be today? What are 3 things I want to accomplish today? And then at the end of the day, you kind of look at the things that you did well. Because again, I know you want to criticize yourself, so we need to start practicing. What are the things that went well? Like, yes, I rocked this. And what are the things you're grateful for? So, gratitude, if you're able to practice gratitude every day, it is in itself a form of self care
Hmm.
and resilience.
Okay.
So every day, start practicing gratitude. What are things you're thankful for? It can be things like your hands because they made this fabulous meal for your family. It can be things like your lungs because it helped you breathe the day when you were really stressed out because you wanted to hurt somebody. So it can be anything. So you can be thankful for the small things, the large things. But so at the end of the day, get into a habit of also expressing gratitude for those things that you've encountered throughout the day. But most importantly, give yourself the praise because you deserve it. And sometimes I know we always wait for other people to appreciate us, and we wait for other people to say, "Oh, you are wonderful." Look in the mirror and say it to yourself. Don't wait for other people to tell you.
I love that. I so love that. So I got this question just popped in my head. I had one, but I'll move that one backwards
Okay.
because I think this question really came out of listening to those last steps that you gave. For the mothers and the grandmothers that are carrying the burden of family members, sons, daughters, grandchildren, nieces, nephews. They're that one person in the family, the matriarch, who when there's always a crisis, they come to Big Mama or they come to you, and you you know we think that you're superwoman, but you're only human, and that can ho- that can be very hard to manage because as a parent, you want to be there for your children, and of course, when we talk about a mom, just those natural maternal instincts. But it can be overwhelming, and a lot of times, the parent or the grandparent, she may not have the skills to really solve this problem. What advice would you give to the mothers or grandmothers who are living in those situations like right now in real time?
So I think sometimes we tell people like don't, be strong, and I don't really know if people understand what that means. And so yeah, you can be the superhero. I'm not going to say you can't be the superhero. However, to be an effective, strong superhero, you first need to stop and say, what do I have to give? And how can I give parts of me in a way that's going to be helpful to everybody? So if you just take that pause, that sometimes we want to be reactive and just jump in and fix things and solve things. And so that's okay that you want to help. It's just step back first and do that awareness of what do you have to give, or how much are you willing to give of yourself. Remember that energy, the soul energy, the life giving, and then make an informed decision about how you can be helpful. Because sometimes, again, you could be helpful in ways that you may not even thought about because you just are so used to doing things a certain way. Remember, a rock is strong until you throw it in water and then it goes down to the bottom of the ocean.
That's a good
So
point.
don't think that strength is about one way. You can be strong in multiple ways. You can be strong by just saying, I don't have it in me today to be part of the situation. You can just be strong and say, you know what, I know what I need to do. I need to make sure I eat first, take my medication first, make sure I'm hydrated first, because then that's going to give me that fuel that I need to go be in this situation. So it's really learning how to know as a superhero what you need, because sometimes you run in it and you're in kryptonite because you're not stopping and paying attention to what's going on around you.
Man, Tanae, you are so good. You literally read my mind because
Okay.
you answered my next question, which was, how do you give yourself permission to say no, especially when it's a family member, when it's your son or daughter or grandchild or niece or nephew or maybe like I said, it could be maybe your sister or brother or a sorority sister, maybe your old college roommate or something. How do you? Because that guilt is real, and you always want to be there, especially like I said, women, black women are just, it's like instinctive, just like on autopilot, just and people know, they know the care. So you have givers and takers. So the takers know who the caregiver is, and they always 2, 3, 4 in the morning they call because they know that that caregiver, that mother, that grandmother, that aunt is always going to be there to answer the phone. So how do you give yourself? And I think you explained it. But if you want to go into detail, maybe wrestle with the guilt of saying no. That nah, for whatever reason, I can't do it. I don't have it right now, and not feel guilty because people will they'll try to guilt you and shame you. Oh, well, you don't really love me, and you were there for this one, and you did, and I came to you, and you can't even. How do you wrestle with that or reconcile that?
Well, so emotions are interesting. I don't think there's anything wrong with having any emotion except for shame. So guilt says you. So if you say I feel guilty, guilt is an emotion that really says you've done something wrong. So
Okay.
then, what is wrong? What is the wrong that you're doing? If you are protecting your child by telling them no, is that wrong? So again, it's just really taking that time to kind of really think through if somebody's asking you for something, and if you listen to your intuition, and your intuition, like, if I give this of my child, am I helping them or am I hurting them? So those are the questions that I typically encourage people to ask. Never, not this what's right or what's wrong or what's good or what's bad. Just always ask yourself, is this going to be more helpful or is this going to be more hurtful to everybody involved, including yourself? So I think the problem is, moms and grandmoms, you're not including yourself in that equation, and you're part of the equation. So if I do this, is it going to be helpful or hurtful? And what outcome am I really seeking? And again, going back to that other, how is this aligned with what I value as a person?
Now, this next question, it's going to sound obvious, but it's apparently, obviously, it's not obvious. What can I know? That sounds like, huh? It's obvious, but
It's obvious.
because it's, let's put it this way: it's obvious for some of us, but it's not obvious for everybody. Because if it was, I wouldn't ask this question, and you wouldn't have the career that you have. So for this is not for the caregivers. This is for us, those who are always going to the caregivers, to our moms. What can we do as sons and daughters, especially adult children, siblings, and as spouses and as friends? What can we do to um, help the moms and grandmas be the best versions of themselves and be a part of that self-care equation?
I think there's several different things. Mother's Day is a really good opportunity to express your appreciation, but if you can do that more than once, everybody wants to be acknowledged throughout the year. So expressing your appreciation, um, telling them it's okay, giving them consent to just kind of not feel like they have to do everything. Just like say, relax, but also model that again. Be mindful of if you're asking something of your parent, is it something that you can, do for yourself?
Yeah.
Or, just what are the reasons that you're asking your parent to do that, so or your mom. So just really be mindful of that. Recognize what your mom already has going on, in their life. So again, knowing what they have, that's being a good child instead of just calling and assuming that they can always do what they need to do. Um, so those are a few things that I would say. Just but definitely show your appreciation throughout the year as much as you can.
And this is not this is not a professional assessment or opinion. This is just Geno saying, "Damn it, stop being so selfish and self-centered. It ain't always about you. You can't, put yourself in your mother and your grandparents' shoes. I know it's hard because they've spoiled us and they've always been there and here, but you hit 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, you still like no. At this point, you determine your destiny. You can't blame it of, well, this happened in my background and there's trauma. Listen, there's trauma in everybody's life. And I am empathetic, so empathetic to that. I understand it. I've seen it in my own family. But there comes a point in everybody's life to where you determine your destiny, irregardless of what your mom did or didn't do, or your dad did or didn't do, or didn't have, or they were in jail or on drugs, or they left you on somebody's doorstep, or you don't know who. At a certain point, you really control your own destiny. And I guess I'm just saying that, Tenelle, just to, because sometimes we're human, and sometimes we can be spoiled, we can be selfish, we can be a combination of both, or even more than that. So I think you said it in a much nicer, more professional way of,
Yeah, adults just have conversations with your parents. You're adults now, so you can talk to them and you can talk to your mom and ask, is this okay? Sometimes we don't ask the questions like we don't, again, kind of asking consent. Is it okay if I call you at this time of day? Is it okay if I
that's
ask you
good.
for
I
money
like that.
every now and then? Because honestly, some moms really do want to do it. They want to do it all. And that's that point. If you want to do it all, that's okay. Just do it in a way that's actually giving you life, like I keep saying, versus draining the life out of you. Um,
That's
so
so
I know the
good.
more we try to tell people you can't be superwoman, they're going to try to prove us wrong. So you can be superwoman. I totally believe that. It's just, are you being are you being an effective superwoman, or are you got some kryptonite that's keeping you from doing the job well. So ask permission, ask questions of your mom, like, get to know them, get to know what's happening, especially if you're an adult child and you want to say, I want to be helpful. How can I be helpful? I think that would be beneficial to everybody involved.
So Janelle, what's the best advice your mom gave you?
Let's see. I will say at a very early age, she did tell me, don't you bring any babies home early.
I heard that one too, and I'm a boy. She's yeah, then don't you bring no baby, and if you do, you're gonna take care of it.
Yeah,
Just understand that.
right. Yeah. So she's always been very supportive of me just being an individual and focusing on myself. So
And
I've
that's
enjoyed that.
beautiful. I was gonna say, if there, I guess well, I'm sure there are more funny stories. I was gonna say, is there like a really like one funny story that would be the epitome if you wrote a screenplay and if there was just one scene in the movie that really epitomized who your mother and what she's really all about and who she really is. If it was a scene in a movie, what would that scene look like, or what
Oh
what was that scene?
gosh.
Because I'm sure there's probably one incident in your life that was like, okay, this is who my mother is. Right? If you'd have witnessed this, you'd have been like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's interesting because like it's four of us, and I think she's different with all of us. So
Okay.
I guess my siblings would say I got away with a lot because
Are you
I
the
was
baby?
really, I was for 12 years,
Okay.
and then she had, so I think because I'm just, yeah, I was kind of independent anyway, so she didn't really have to, I didn't get a lot of spankings growing up.
You sound like me. My mother's watching now. She'll say, Gina, I didn't have to really. But the one time, and she always says she forgets it until I remind her. I was in
Yeah.
high school, and I thought I was pimp or die. I had my big, super fly hat on, and she'd always told me, when you get out of school, come straight home. But so this is one day. Of course, you know, I'm not worried about because the way my mother went home, she never would take any bus that went down the street that my high school was located on. So I'm like, I'm good. So I was in pimp or die mode that day. And I was hanging around after school, just trying to be the Mac. So when I get home, I'll never forget it. Tenelle, I get to the top of the stairs, and she said, I thought I told you to come straight home. I did, and I think it was a very short conversation. And the next thing I know, I can just feel this hand that was like implanted on my face, and she slapped the hat off my head. And it was because
Wow.
because I lied to her. She was like, you don't lie to me. I told you, because she called me in a lie, and so I earned that one that day. But that was the last time that
Yeah.
happened. So even if I did stay and had a good alibi, I made sure I kept my behind inside the building. But I was big and bold that day. Oh, I'm outside leaning. Man, come on, you couldn't tell me nothing. I'm like, what? What? She
Yeah.
she got me that day. Yeah, she got me
No,
that day.
I get the, I know a lot of moms, people who may be watching who don't have their moms, who've lost their moms. So I get the honor of my mom moved down here to live with me about 5 or 6 years ago. So it's really been special, and I'm really grateful that she's here with me and I get to see her because, like I said, I know a lot of people don't have that in their lives, and you never get over that loss. I do a lot of grief work, and so yeah, so I'm always grateful.
And if you don't
For
mind, before I go, and I'm so glad, man, God works in mysterious ways, because that was something that I really wanted to address. And I wanted this moment I wanted us to have some fun, and because we want to celebrate mothers and grandmothers, even if they're not here. But I think that's so
right.
important. Could you speak to the women who don't have their mother or lost a mother or grandmother, especially, this last year with COVID, it was so traumatic because many people lost their mother and their grandmother or another parent, but we're focused on mothers for this Mother's Day weekend, and they didn't get a chance to go hold their hand or actually see them physically. And the last time they talked to them, it was on a cell phone or a tablet, because the nurses and doctors had to, FaceTime them because of, COVID was so contagious. So what would you say to the mothers out there who are still, and like you said, you don't get over it. You learn to live with it. But speak to those women who have that hole in their soul that's not there, and how can they turn that tragedy into triumph, and maybe somehow. So I always, because where I am now, I say, let's celebrate somebody's life. When they pass away and transition, obviously there's sorrow and there's pain and grief, but if somehow we can take that pain and turn it into some power, and the tragedy, and turn it into triumph, and help me, because the only way I know to do that is to celebrate somebody's life. And you talk about the good memories and the things, the lessons they taught you, the things that made you who you are, that you got from them, and just celebrate just some of the good times and good memories. What would you say to those women?
So I would say it's very common with grief, which is a whole nother could be a whole nother show. Is it's okay to feel all of these emotions. I think sometimes we're told again to move past it, and so when people do that, they don't really heal. So if you on Sunday, if you just want to sit in your room and cry and feel the pain, it is okay. If you want to, if you want to do something fun or go, visit your mom's grave if it's near you, that's okay. So you can do whatever you want to because there's no right or wrong thing to do when you're grieving. It's your journey alone. And I would just encourage you, maybe if you want to write something, you could do thanking your mom for the things that they did teach you, the time that you did have with them while they were here physically. But so take this day to do whatever you need to do for yourself and let yourself feel whatever it is you need to feel.
And let all those folks who's been crying on your shoulders and asking you for money and asking you to come cook dinner and do their laundry. Damn it. Now, so this weekend is your weekend. So we need some flowers. We need the hair done, nails, hire a chef.
Just make sure you're breathing as you're doing all those things.
Right.
Breathe.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying, no, I'm not saying, no, mothers, you ain't doing none of that.
No,
That's where everybody else has been, that's been bugging you and leaning on you all year. So this is your day. This is your weekend. So I'm telling them, hey, listen, all right? So you need to get your own damn laundry, cook your own dinner, hire her a chef, make sure she gets her hair, nails done, put some money in her bank account, let her go get her a membership with the gym, make a little weekend getaway, whatever she wants, whatever she wants to add to the self-care. But Tenelle, you really gave some great advice, all seriousness. Thank you so much. And if someone is watching, they want to reach out to you and utilize your services or get some more information or some more advice or counseling, you want to give people your contact information and number where they can reach out to you.
yes, you can call me at 843-364-7798.
And
Or you can email me at Tenelle Jones LLC at outlook.com.
because I guess things are virtual now, you don't have to necessarily be here in the Carolinas or the Charleston metro areas. You can be watching from anywhere in the country, and I'm sure you can, if they really need you and want to get your services, this technology, this Zoom technology is pretty cool. I should have got some Zoom stock if I knew. Man, if I knew.
Oh, yes.
I know. Tenelle
Yeah.
Jones, listen, thank you
Thank you.
so much. I can't thank you enough. This was really important to me, and when you volunteered to come on and to bless the viewers with the knowledge and wisdom and the skills that you've acquired, you do a great job. I know that personally.
Thank you.
But thank you, and you just have such a
Thank you.
your spirit. It is a comforting, you disarming in a positive way. Some people, it's like there's some people you meet that you can't get mad at them. I think we all know somebody in our life where you just cannot not like that person. It's just something about their spirit and their soul and the energy. Because we all are energy sources, like you said. We emit positive and negative energy, and you not only can you see it, you can feel it. And you just like one of those energy sources of calm and positivity. Just how you can walk in a room and it's like a dimmer switch. The room would get dark or it gets light. Like you walk in and the dimmer switch and the room gets light and the air gets. You can smell the air freshener and it just
I thank you
you just
so
feel
much for
relaxed.
that.
Because there's some folks that walk in a room, man, and it's like. Woo! It's like somebody hit it ain't a dimmer switch. It's like they walk in a room and it's dark and the energy is like you can stuck your finger in an outlet in the wall or something and you like so thank you so much and have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day and you have a home here on the Geno Jones Show anytime you like to come back and there's some other topics that I know in the future we can, and you may think of something, say, hey, Geno, I need to come on because this is something that we need to address, especially, for the community, and we don't exclude anyone. But like I've always said in closing, the most devalued to me, and there's evidence, historical evidence, unfortunately, the most disrespected, devalued, unprotected person on a planet is a black woman. So in my own little world in space, I want to do whatever I can to change that. And so you definitely help. So thank you, Tenelle. Have a great weekend. All right, ladies and gentlemen, she did a great job, didn't she? Just like I said, it's just a beautiful spirit. You know, some people they walk in a room, and the room, it gets lighter, and the air is fresher, and the whole 9 yards. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you. God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show. Like, share, and subscribe. Once again, like, share, and subscribe. And tag all my past episodes. Go back and binge watch. So, hey, moms, that's what you can do this weekend, moms and grandmas. Go back and binge watch. I got some great episodes and great conversations. Let us see Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Larry Dotson, the former lead singer for the Bar-Kays, Reggie Calloway from Midnight Star, and other guests, other professionals, doctors like Dr. Damon Arnold, licensed therapists like Tenelle Jones, who was just on. So go back and binge watch, and not to mention just my commentary, my monologue, my social political commentary. Oh yeah, I bring the heat every day. So like, share, and subscribe to the Geno Jones Show. Like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, my network right here. Shout out to Mr. Bruce Gage, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out on Instagram, IG. Just do a IG Instagram search, Bruce Gage, Gage. And shout out to Markell Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out on IG, on Instagram, Kel B Cuttin, KelBeCuttin. Have a great Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and the grandmothers and mothers-to-be. Happy Heavenly Mother's Day to all of our mothers and grandmothers that have received their wings and are up in heaven, looking down, protecting us, covering us, and making sure that God covers each and every one of us. Thank you. And to my mother, once again, you gave up your future so I could have a future. You gave up you gave up your passion so I could pursue my passion. And for that, I could never repay you. There's not enough money in the world. There's not enough Bitcoin. They couldn't print up enough cryptocurrency. They couldn't print up enough money for me to thank you for all the sacrifices and everything that you gave up so I could have so much. Saying that I love you doesn't do it any justice, because the feelings I have for you are way deeper and how can you thank somebody that not just physically gave you your life, not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally, that believed in you when you didn't even believe in yourself. The one person that believes in me more than I believe in myself, which is hard to do, is you, that endured abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, overcoming the abuse and alcoholism and over 40 surgeries, and to still come out looking like none of that happened. I know that's a whole nother show, because that's only God, but you endured so much so I could live my best life and live out my dream. You gave up your dream so I could live out my dream. And for that, I can't thank you enough, Mother. Happy Mother's Day. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers whose story is similar to my mother, or grandparents, grandmothers who have a similar story. We can't thank you enough. Every day should be Mother's Day. I say in closing, make sure that every day treat your mother like it's Mother's Day every day. And if your mother is still living, such a blessing, because tomorrow is not promised to none of us. Have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day. I'll see you Monday live, 6:30 right here on my YouTube channel. Until then, have a great weekend. A happy Mother's Day. Once again, thank you to my guest, Tenelle Jones. And until next time, be blessed.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.